Welcome to another episode of A Quest for Twice. Today is September the 6th. I'm going to provide a quick update on Method Electronics. Then look at the valuation of the market as well as my investment portfolio performance year to date. So Method reported the latest earning results. As shown at the bottom left, its latest quarterly revenue is slightly below the level 1 year ago. So in the trailing 2 years, the most recent quarter's revenue is actually the lowest, although only by a small amount. It's a fairly stable revenue. So the more interesting story is about the gross margin. So as I mentioned before, its gross margin dipped significantly in the quarter ending on May the 1st. So in the latest quarter, the gross margin recovered somewhat to 22% compared to 19% in the quarter ending May 1st. However, that's still below the historical gross margin level between 23 and 26%. The drivers behind the reduced gross margin were the cost inflation, including the freight, and also China lockdown, and also foreign exchange headwind, plus the supply chain disruption in Europe. The management reaffirmed the 2023 revenue outlook for about $1.2 billion. However, with the energy shortages looming in Europe, as well as continued lockdown in China, I think the margin will be under pressure, at least in the remainder of calendar year 2022. So if we use the management guidance midpoint of $2.9 per share, at the $39 per share, the PE is about 13.4. That's not expensive. However, as I mentioned a moment ago, I think the margin will be under pressure from continuous Chinese lockdown as well as the disruptions in Europe due to energy shortage. So it's questionable if the management guidance can be actually delivered. I still believe in the long-term story in Method Electronics. However, I think there will be better entry points in the remainder of 2022, and I will be patient and wait for significant pullbacks before I add to my position. Now, let's take a look at the tech giants valuations. I look at the Amazon, Google, and the Microsoft valuation levels in March of this year. My conclusion back then was Amazon may be fairly or undervalued in March, and Google may be overpriced, and Microsoft was hard to value. So on this slide, I plotted my favorite valuation metric, enterprise value over gross income for those three companies, and compare the levels in March against the current levels. So at the bottom right, that's current levels. The Amazon's valuation is below the range realized between 2021 and 2015. Given the growth runway ahead from AWS and e-commerce, I think Amazon is undervalued at this point. For Google, the valuation metric is reaching its historical range. With the future digital advertising revenue still to grow secularly, I think the Google is fairly valued. As before, I still think Microsoft is hard to value. However, if Microsoft stock price continue to decline and if the enterprise value over gross income for Microsoft reach around 11, then I think it will be either fair valued or undervalued at that point. Why do I care about those three tech giants? Because together they are about 14% of S&P 500. So if we assume Microsoft is 15% overvalued in a conservative sense, and Google and Amazon together is fairly valued, I can calculate that 14% of S&P 500 may be 6% overvalued, which is not a significant amount. And I don't subscribe to the notion that the S&P 500 will crash and have a significant plunge from this price level. At 39.24, S&P 500 has already declined 6% in the trailing 6 months. Now, let me review my own portfolio performance in this year. So my portfolio overall declined by about 16% in this year, and that's roughly the same with S&P 500. However, if I look at the different parts of my portfolio, the story is a lot more interesting. My biggest holding is Adcore. So year to date, it declined by about 25%. And now it's about 27% of my total portfolio compared to 35% in October last year. The stars of my portfolio are the energy companies, Energy Transfer and Kinder Morgan. So they returned 35%. And now they together are also 27% of my portfolio compared to 22% 1 year ago. The other value stocks in my portfolio declined by about 15%. Now they are 18% of my portfolio compared to 23% 1 year ago. So the real disappointment came from a growth portfolio. Together, the portfolio declined 40% in this year. Now, the portfolio is about 24% of my total portfolio, compared to 14% 1 year ago. Why does my growth portfolio become a larger portion of my total portfolio despite the 40% decline? That's because I've been buying the dips. The last time I put significant money to work was in April of this year. Of course, from that point to now, the market continued to decline, and the growth portfolio continued to underperform the overall market. Now I have about 4% in cash. That's not changing the value in this year, and that also means the cash portion of my portfolio is outperforming S&P 500 by 16%. Because I don't believe in market timing, and I like all the companies in my portfolio. So I consider my overall performance of 16% decline as satisfactory given the quality of my portfolio and the outperformance I achieved in last year. With significant price reduction in stock, I think there will be more and more opportunities to be captured. Overall, I actually feel more optimistic about investing in stock market because of the significant price pullbacks. Until next time, happy investing.